Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Real Talk for Real Teens, hosted by Kim Creighton, or as she's known by the people who know her best, Mama C. The show where we uniquely combine the information teens need with the entertainment teens want.
Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2013, a new year of Real Talk for Real Teens. This is Kim Creighton, your host as always for this wonderfully inventive, courageous, fun-loving show. Again, Happy New Year. Today I'm going to do something that I want to do every New Year. What I did for you guys was I went to 6 people that I know, and I asked them one question. It's a little advice show, and the question was, what one piece of advice would you give to young people that you wish someone had given to you? So what I'm going to do is play, I already interviewed them, so I'm going to play the tapes or the audio files of them answering this question, and you're going to get some really unique and varied feedback, insight, advice, whatever you want to call it, from these very unique people. I really care about these people, and they did a great job of making sure they were clear and caring about what they had to say. So without further ado, I'm going to let the tape roll, and we have Anika, we have Carlton, we have Mandy, we have Nate, we have Ayani, and we have Marc. So that's who you'll be listening to. And then once the audio's done, I will get back to you. So, again, sit back, relax, enjoy, and really enjoy this. And I'll talk to you soon. Hold on.
Hi, my name is Anika Francis, and I'm an instructional designer, which means I design training for a living. I also teach yoga, and I'm a writer.
What one piece of advice would you give to young people that you wish someone had given to you?
My piece of advice is that love is what it does. And what I mean by that is that you know love through actions, not just words.
Give me an example.
For instance, it's really easy for someone to say that they love you, but then they may not do things that express love. So if, for you, if love means calling you, being faithful to you, showing kindness, those are things that express love. And love is more than just the words. People can easily tell you that they love you, but do the actions support that?
So what you're saying is your advice, if someone would have told you, is just because someone tells you that they love you or says that they love you, they may, in turn, they might love you, but it might not be the way you need to be loved, and so you need to define it based on what you need or what it looks like for you?
No, I'm actually saying that people can tell you that they love you in many different things, and they may not actually mean it, because I think there's a lot of times when people will just say things because it's the easiest approach, and it may make you feel better and appease you, but it really may not be the truth. And I think that you know the truth of things based upon the actions and the expression of it. And I think there have definitely been cases that because I wanted maybe love so much, that I was just willing to go with the words when the actions completely didn't support what those words were. And not only does that apply for love, but many things. And not only does it apply for the way that other people may love you, but I think you can also learn a lot about how much you love yourself by the type of actions that you express to you, and to your own self. And so I'm really saying there needs to be an alignment between the actions and the words, and that words are not enough. And I think it's especially important these days with, things like internet and texting. We can throw around words so quickly and so easily, but is there true action that supports it and follows it? Because that's where the real truth to me shines through, not just in the words.
My name is Carlton Lockard. I've lived in the Atlanta area for around 15 years. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. I am a father of a 14-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. And I've been an usher at church for a long time, and I have a background in, and I've attended My undergraduate degree is from Howard University. My master's is from Indiana.
What one piece of advice would you give to young people that you wish someone had given to you?
I would make sure that young people know, and I've told them this many times. Let me back up and say this. One of the things that I've done the last couple of years, Kim, is I have been a volunteer on the College Fair Committee for my alumni association, Howard University Alumni Association. So maybe once a week or so, I do talk with quite a few teenagers about not just attending Howard University, but how to continue to prepare themselves to attend college. And, the bit of advice that I've learned to give them as I've assessed the process is that, high school may last for 4 years, but your college preparation is actually 3 years, because your senior year, you're sending in applications to college. And so I encourage young people to be prepared for, understand that once they start their freshman year, in addition to all the things they're learning about themselves and about high school and about the subjects that they're learning, they are, in fact, every class they take, they are now setting up a record for themselves that's going to be taken a look at when it's time to apply to college. So, I do encourage parents to help the young people get on the right track right away. And the main way you do that is, and here's where we get to the advice, develop really good study habits just by understanding the priority is to get homework and studies done first, and then have all the fun you want. And isn't it the truth, especially as you advance in school, that it's not, a lot of times you're not really having too much fun if you're worried about, because of worry, right? Because you're concerned, because you haven't studied for an exam, because you haven't done enough research for a paper, because you haven't completed enough formulas for your math or your science project. So once you learn to do that first, then then it's a lot easier to have fun doing other things. And what you find out is that now you've sharpened your ability to observe and to study, and you've really now sharpened the way your mind functions, and it helps you in every phase of your life if you just learn that small priority.
So what you're saying is something that we've talked about a lot on the show, is that delayed gratification. It's understanding that sometimes you have to put the work in ahead of time or right now in this moment, so that you can have the fun, instead of doing the fun first and then stressing about the fact that you have an exam in the morning and you've partied all night or all weekend or something like that.
That's exactly what we're talking about. And another thing I've learned related to that, because I do like to try to stay on topic, even though there's a lot of things that will contribute to it, but sometimes, love and nurture are always important for people to receive and experience. But, somebody said once that sometimes the greatest form of love is discipline, teaching someone discipline.
I so agree with that. Because I find that when I'm working with young people, a lot of the issues that I'm finding in the school systems and in homes is there are no boundaries and expectations. A lot of young people have been allowed to exhibit certain behaviors, do certain things, be rewarded for certain things, and for doing absolutely nothing. And that just makes for an unsafe environment for people, period. And I use this example. Think about if you went on your job and you were being paid to complete a job, and your manager gave you something and gave you absolutely no parameters, but expected it to look like something, or you wouldn't get paid. That's stressful.
Certainly is.
Yeah, so that discipline part is, and it's not, people think, oh, the beating. No, it's setting expectations and setting boundaries and having consequences that follow good, bad, or indifferent. That's just life.
Sure. I mean, what this ties into, Kim, is understanding your role during different phases of your life. And while you're a young person, your number one priority is to be a student. Matter of fact, that's by law, okay? I mean, you don't have to have a driver's license. You don't have to vote. You are eligible to vote at certain ages, but while you're school age, by law, you're supposed to be in school. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, you are working as a student. That is your job. Now, how well you complete that task is going to determine what happens. Certainly during the immediate 5 to 10 years after you get out of high school or after you're out of high school age, but as you know, I mean, that can affect your whole life. And it really works out. So this is all I'm saying. It works like this. If you decide, I mean, you don't have to go to college, okay? That's fine too, but you need to be mature enough to make that decision. It can't be because you don't have the option. You're trying to create as many options for yourself as possible. So when you understand in middle school that you're about to go into high school, okay, and high school is a stepping stone to college, which is a huge rite of passage in our society, okay, and the way you get into college is by having certain test scores and certain GPA, right? Well, you've got to prepare yourself to achieve that, right? And so that's what we're talking about. So your job is to be a student. When you're a good student, then you prepare yourself to go to college. Now, we're talking about two things here when we're talking about acceptance to college, getting accepted to the college of your choice, not just, who's going to take me, but number two, being able to afford it. Since college tuition, the cost of higher education has spiraled, year after year. Nobody can seem to stop this freight train, right, even though a lot of states are talking about it. All right, so now that means, okay, also keep in mind these days, unlike 40 years ago, right, maybe 30 years ago, you're not working yourself through school, okay? You do need loans, right, grants, scholarships. How do you earn grants and scholarships? By getting those grades and getting those test scores. So just by doing what you're supposed to do anyway and understanding the path that you're on, okay, forget what you want to study, where you want to study. To get in and to get it paid for, all you got to do is use what's between your two ears, and that's be a good student.
And I'm glad you brought up something about when you were talking about your options. Because, yes, college is not for everyone. But what you're doing in high school is availing yourself of as many options as you can. So when you walk across that stage, you have choices.
Let's
put it this way. You have choices that you like, because you always have choices, good, bad, or different. You might not like your choices. So you want to set yourself up so that the choices you have to make are choices that you want to make, that are favorable to you.
Well, that hits upon another key area, Kim, because, and this is, when you're talking about, hey, what advice would you have loved to have gotten, right? We're talking about, what is the what? You give someone advice to what? So they have a greater level of awareness. And that's what governs our choices, isn't it? I mean, choices are a function of our awareness. So you're right. To understand that, hey, there is a path to college. I mean, my next step might be college and it might not. But be aware of how that can play out. Be aware of what choices you can take, right, that suit yourself. So that means you not only have to be aware externally of what the options are, you have to be aware internally of what you want and what you're capable of. And of course, all of this really gets notched up when we are taught that we are capable of anything that we envision, and it's only in the same way that choices are a function of awareness. your achievement is just a function of your imagination, right? And but that needs to be that needs to be cultivated. But so I guess that would be the second thing, because I was thinking about that too. But the concrete thing, is for kids to understand: be a good student, learn and study first, have as much fun as you want later, but definitely have that confidence in yourself and that love of yourself to know that things that you envision and that you want, not silly material stuff, but, actually try to envision, hey, I'd love to, even it really doesn't matter, I'd love to build a better this, I'd love to go here, I'd love to, whatever it is, know that you have all the resources as we are guided. You have all the resources to do those things.
Okay, hi. My name is Mandy Lane. I am the founder of Beautiful Within, which is an organization to empower and encourage young women to increase their self-worth and self-esteem. 7-week curriculum based on topics such as media, sexual health and responsibility, drug and alcohol experimentation, relationships, future planning, basically just for any young woman to become the kind of woman she hopes to be when she grows up, and to find out who she is and who she wants to be. It's kind of been something I've always dreamt about doing, and it's just something it's hopefully going to make a big difference. So I'm really excited about it. There's a website that anybody can check out. It's www.beautiful-within.com. And I can be reached there as well at Mandy, M-A-N-D-Y, at beautiful-within.com. So it's kind of always been my mission, and it's kind of always been something that I have thought was a really important issue and topic, was the coming of age of the young woman, and especially in today's world. I think it's even more important.
What one piece of advice would you give to young people that you wish someone had given to you?
I would say that, I guess it's a couple of pieces, but I think most importantly, I think that there's so much pressure, whether it comes from internally, like just inside, or from family and friends, or just from like the world outside, whether it's to make money or whether it's to be a special or certain thing, without realizing that each young woman already is special and her own thing, and kind of just to let life leads you more down where you're supposed to be than I think people give it credit for. So I would say, to be more specific, instead of saying, I hope by the time I'm such and such, I want to reach, this milestone. And life itself is a milestone. It's the unexpected stuff that ends up being more exciting and happier and better than the stuff that you end up planning for. I've seen too many people plan their whole lives when they're 14 or 15, and this is what I'm going to do or want to do, and they don't even know themselves yet, let alone what they want to do. So I think more just to trust yourself, trust your instincts, trust your gut, because it's going to work out. And I think that if more women believe that, or more people believe that, actually, that I think that people end up being a lot happier instead of placing these expectations on themselves when they're so young and they don't even know what they really want. They haven't had enough of life experience. Life experience is somehow, and I think in some random way, work towards you instead of against you. And I think that if people would realize that and kind of just relax and say it's going to work out, and at the same time work hard and, follow their dreams and their passions, things will connect, the dots end up connecting. They end up bringing you somewhere where you're supposed to be.
That's
just to me.
That's a big one. Just the whole, how you just ended that, just allowing the dots to put out there, and they'll connect themselves. We live in such a society where, the first thing is, if you're going to school, what are you studying? If you have a job, what do you do? And if I know so many people, and I'm one of them, who I am not working in the field that I went to college for. And I'm happy I'm not working in the field that I went to college for. It took me much longer to graduate college because you had all those expectations, or I had all those expectations of what I want to do, and I kept changing my major because I get in and I'm like, I don't like that. Then I get in and I don't like that. And so I have an undergrad in interior design, and I love it. But once I saw what it was like in the real world, I was like, no, I don't want to do this. But I had gotten so far along in it, and I changed my major so much that I finally got a degree. I finally got the bachelor's. But you're absolutely right. We don't, and if they spent that time doing that now, they wouldn't be 30, 40, 50 years old trying to now discover who they are, what their passions are.
Right. If more time was focused on who you wanted to become and what you wanted to do versus a title or a label or how much money a year you're going to be making, people would be a lot happier. Mm-hmm. And I think we've gotten caught up in this whole just wheel of expectations and valuing ourselves based on a 9-to-5 position instead of what we want to do to make ourselves better people and make the world a better place.
And also just the value of what you're saying. That is for this to be a conscious shift, there has to be a major shift in just allowing people. I was listening to something on TED.com today, and allowing artists or creative people or whatever, if you're a mathematician or whatever it is, something you like, allowing that to marinate in honoring those places. It doesn't have to be just about the money. What are you happy about?
Right.
There are so many people who go to their jobs every day and pray for Friday. That's all they look forward to is Friday.
Right. Or Sunday night, they're giving up Monday to go back to the same thing.
And we don't honor that. We don't put the value on those young individuals who and they could be making a whole lot of money. That's another thing. Just because you're not doing what people traditionally make money at or what people think you can't make money at, that doesn't mean you won't make money or have a great lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get there even faster, and you'd appreciate it more if you're happy with what you're doing in the first place.
Right. There's a big difference between making a life and making a living.
Yes.
And I think the art of that has gotten lost.
You and I understand that. Why don't you explain that? Explain that difference, and we'll end with that. Explain what do you mean by the difference between making a life and making a living?
Making a living to me is kind of ends justify the means in the sense of paying your bills, and having either the education or the trade school or the experience to be doing what you're doing day by day, quote unquote, whether it's a job or it's a career, or it's a profession, it can be any of those, and the focus on that being, settled. Okay, got this one under my belt, and, it's good, I'm secure. Versus making a life, how about the rest of it, How about the people that are positive influences on you and make you a better person and make you a happier person? The time that you're not at your, quote-unquote 9-to-5, whatever it is, your job or what you're doing for a living, that doesn't make you. I think it's everything else that does. Sure, I would hope it'd be a big part of somebody just because I'd hope it would be doing something that they feel would matter and that they feel would be giving them, whatever they're giving, that they're getting something back from it. Something inside that says this is the right thing for me and I'm doing something that is going to be doing stuff for other people. But the living part too, what do you come home to? Who do you come home to? What are you doing when you're not at work? Like your activities, your hobbies, your talent, But there's so many wasted talent.
It's very important because we spend so much time identifying ourselves with a career title or it's I am a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a teacher, I'm a instead of I am love, I am happy. I enjoy my life. That kind of thing. That when you say that, people look at you weird.
Right. And isn't that so much more important? You're not the, whatever your title is after, initials after your name from an education or your job title. I wish that people would realize that's not who you are. That's a part of what you do.
Exactly.
And there's a huge difference when it comes down to that. And, I look forward to the day when people identify themselves more by, their dreams and what they have to offer and what makes them happy versus the opposite.
How y'all doing? This is Nathan Prince. Live here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a personal trainer and a newly crowned insurance agent.
All right, welcome, Nathan Prince. And we might remember Nate when we did our Young People and Obesity show. So he's back to give you some information, some insight that he has based on this question. What one piece of advice would you give to young people that you wish someone would have given to you?
Oh my goodness. Well, I was kind of a hard-headed kid, so I had a lot of good advice that I didn't pay attention to that I wish I would have. But I would honestly say if there was one thing that I wish someone would have told me that they didn't was how hard and difficult and how much of a struggle marriage can be. I know that might be a little ahead for some of the young folks who's listening, but that's about the main thing I can think of.
Well, no, let's talk about that, because that's a different. So talk about that.
Okay, a lot of young guys, you know what I'm saying? A lot of young guys, and I was one of them. You know, I was one of the star athletes in school. I was the football player that, you know, a lot of different chicks, you know, used to come up to, and I was that kind of that superficial guy. You know, a girl had to have this. You know, she had to be shaped like this for me to even, you know, think about. And I know I probably passed over some really, really good opportunities to, you know, be with some really fine quality females instead of just looking at the exterior and dealing with some straight gutter rats, for lack of a better word. But if there's one thing I will say to the young men who are listening is when you meet a quality female, all right, understand. I don't care how much she argues, because that's something that a woman is going to do. Men, we think with more logic. Most women go off of whatever emotion they're feeling at the time, and that's just something that you're just going to have to deal with and feel your way through. But a good woman is going to hold you down and make you stronger and make you better. And by the grace of God,
explain that. Stop. I want you to stop right there and explain what do you mean by hold you down and make you better. How can a good woman to you hold you down and make you better? Because this is not just about marriage. This is because you have to be in a good relationship to even get to marriage. So we're talking about
exactly.
You think it's ahead, but it's not. It's right where they are. So explain.
Okay. A good female who's really, really down for you, and I ain't talking about, you know, doing illegal stuff and taking the blame for you. I'm talking about a good woman who's going to get in your ear and get in your face about the things that's actually going to make you better. And you have to be smart enough to know when to shut your mouth and actually listen to her when she's talking. All right? If you were doing something, all right, because for one thing, no woman really wants to be in a position where she has to take care of a man. And no real man should be complacent enough to want to be taken care of by a woman. So a good woman has been, 9 times out of 10, was raised to take care of her man in certain ways, but still make sure that he is the head of the household. That's what I mean by that. And so when you got a good woman and she gets on you about, you know, you're doing this, but you could be doing better. It's not, a lot of times, it's not so much of her trying to be a gold digger. It's not so much of her trying to keep track of you, this, that, and the other. It's her, you know, basically priming you for when y'all are together and y'all are starting to raise a family, and she's, you know, she wants to be that good woman, that good wife that takes care of the family, you know, does her 50% and making sure that you're, you know, meeting along with your 50% at the same time. So when I say a good woman is going to make you better, a good woman, just her being that and being kind and being sweet and being hard and frustrating you sometimes with the fact that she's always going to demand more from you, but more in a good way. She wants to see you do better, and that right there is going to make you want to be better. My wife is, oh my God, my wife can get on my last ever-loving nerves sometimes, but at the end of the day, I have to sit back and pick through a lot of what she might have said and realize, you know what, she's right. Because if I would have done this, then this bad decision that I made would have ended up being a good decision if I might have listened to her. And it takes years and years to get to that. But understand this, young man, when you get with a good woman, cherish her, put her on a pedestal, because in these days and times, a lot of these chicks out here ain't worth the dirt that they walk on.
Okay, I'm gonna back up on. Okay, everybody's worth something. Their priorities might be skewed. They might be in it for the wrong reason. But everybody has value. So let's put that out there. Everybody has value. What I find is most people don't understand or know their value. And because if you don't know your value, you can't value another person. And that's just how it is. You can't give what you don't have. So
exactly. I'm glad you corrected what I said.
Yeah, because people have value. It's just about getting understanding that you have value, but only you can believe you have value. You can't fake it, because people try to be cool and the ego gets in there, but you can't fake that because it's going to come out in your behavior. It's going to come out that if you don't value yourself by the things that you do, the things that you say, the people you're around. But I'm glad we're having this conversation, and I'm glad you're directing it to young men, because I want young women to hear this, that there is an opportunity for you to find a guy, and that's why I wanted to back up, because it's not even just about marriage. It's about that guy you're dating in college, that guy you're dating in high school, that guy you get out of high school. That if you're a person who values yourself and you're doing what you need to do to get your life where you want to go, you need to be able to you should expect that no less from what you get from somebody else. It's like Nick was saying, 50-50. Most relationships are 50-50 most of the time. It's a balance in that. But you want somebody at least bringing the same thing to the table that you have.
Exactly. Oh, can I say something to the young ladies real quick?
Yes, please.
Okay, young ladies, I have a daughter. I believe in telling my daughter every day how beautiful she is, because I want her to have a good, high opinion of herself, so she will be able to weed through the BS that young men are going to come with later on, because I know I'm not always going to be able to be there. All right? I know I'm not always going to be able to be right there to filter, through the guys that's going to come, and she's going to, deal with all manner of guys. But I try to, make sure that she understands her worth. And that's what I want young women to understand, because I see a lot of good women settling. I want y'all to understand. Understand your value, understand your worth, set your goals high, and don't lower your standards for some guy. He might look good, but he might be a knucklehead. All right? You're not just, you being a good woman, all right, is going to make a man want to be better for you. But it's not going to change, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to change a dog into a Prince Charming.
And I have to say another, because something just popped in my head when you were speaking. It's okay. I have 2 things to say, because it's really not about doing things that make him want to be better. It's the fact that birds of a feather flock together. If you keep your standards high, then you will attract those people who are just your level or better, because you want somebody better than you, because you can learn from that and you can grow from that.
Exactly. The quality of woman that you are.
Yeah, and those knuckleheads that Nate was talking about, they won't stay in a minute in your circle, because you're going to be talking over their head. You're going to be making them so uncomfortable. They're not going to even want to be around you. They're not even going to be in your circle. But one thing and this is something that back when Sex and the City was on, and this is one saying, and this guy they wrote these books and everything about, and they had a movie about this. He's just not that into you. Young lady, you need to understand and learn when somebody's just not that into you. And it's okay, because the next guy could be. And if you're spending all of your time, your energy, and your effort with somebody who's not that into you, he's taking up space for somebody who might be.
Exactly. And another thing, if you're dealing with, and I know that I've seen it actually happen to my wife, I've seen it happen to other females. If a guy tries to get with you and you don't want to have anything to do with him, and next thing you know, he comes all disrespectful. All right, you all kind of B's and H's and stuck up this and stuck up that. You ain't all that, this, that, and the other. I'm going to tell you something. I know this is hard, but look at it the way I've had to tell young women sometimes. Don't get mad at that dude that comes at you all disrespectful like that because you didn't get with him. Look at it as him reassuring you that you just made the right decision not to give him the time of day.
He confirmed your gut.
Yeah, for real. You went with your gut instinct, and every word out of his mouth just confirmed that you should always trust your gut.
Yeah. So, this is thank you for this this topic, because I find that a lot of young people don't even think about marriage. But they're doing things that are married-like.
Yeah.
They're living married lives when they shouldn't be living married lives. They don't have the benefits of marriage, taxes, none of that. But they're living, more than one income, but they're living very married lives. So this is why I wanted to break this down when he said that, because it's not about just having that piece of paper. It's about how you're treated, how you treat yourself, what you bring to the relationship, and how you can either be a positive or negative influence on the relationship that you have. And as Nate said, it's not easy because you're dealing with somebody else's personality.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have to grow to know that person. And one thing, a relationship, more so than even getting to know that person, a relationship is going to teach you a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
Your patience level.
Well, this is what I tell you all guys all the time. It's not about the other person. It's about you. It's not about
exactly.
It's about you. It's not about blaming them. It's about, well, how can you grow? What can you learn? How can you be the best you can be by this person being in your life?
Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Ayani Good, and I have over 25 years of experience of working with young people, so-called at-risk young people that I like to call at promise. I have experience as an attorney and as an assistant principal in a high school for school dropouts in Chicago, Illinois.
All right. Welcome, Ayani. Could you please answer this question for us? What one piece of advice would you give to young people that you wish someone would have given to you?
I think that the best piece of advice I could have gotten, being a female, growing up as a baby boomer, for those who don't know, I was born in the 1940s, 1950s. I would have liked for someone to tell me that women don't have to be able to do it all. I would like to have been told that it's okay to not be in charge of making things better for everybody, because you know what? I neglected myself. I neglected myself physically, emotionally, and spiritually, taking care of everybody else.
Wow, that's huge. And let me stop there and say that to everybody, Ayani is my mom. So this is a conversation that I like to have with her. So explain more about what do you mean about, particularly for two things, being a woman taking care of people and just being able, or somebody telling you it's okay not to be able to have to take care of everybody and take care of yourself.
Okay. As I said, I grew up as a baby boomer, and I come from a long line of family that was headed by women. And the women were very, very strong, African-American women, very focused on doing things for their families and doing things for the community. However, these same women, of which I am, almost the last in line of, we didn't take care of ourselves. We were so focused on making things right for other people, fixing things, making sure people had what they needed, that we didn't focus on ourselves because, again, growing up in that era, it was not okay for a woman to be, let's say, selfish or focus on herself. We were supposed to raise the family. We were supposed to take care of the men in the family. We were supposed to take care of the household. And anything else that crept in was what was left over, which wasn't very much, which wasn't time for ourselves, which wasn't, let me have a minute of peace. It was always waiting on the next crisis so that we could jump in and be superwoman and take care of it. What that led to was a lot of internalized anger. We have a history of depression. We have people who are resentful of things that they did that possibly nobody said thank you for because they didn't ask you to do it in the first place. And we have a history of not being physically fit in terms of, our diet, our exercise, our hobbies. Everything was sort of inward focused, but our actions were outward focused. So that doesn't bode well when, you have issues going on that you don't address.
Well, this is big, and particularly being your daughter sitting here listening to this, because I've witnessed these women, strong, intelligent, fierce lionesses that
beautiful.
I grew up around, but I could see that inner struggle my whole life, and that was one of the reasons I took this journey, because I saw how unhealthy it was, and I didn't have any real examples of how to find that balance, how to find that harmony. Because as we've talked about in this show, you can't give what you don't have. So
Absolutely.
Even in your efforts of trying to help other people, because you weren't helping yourself, you couldn't effectively help other people either. It's just like,
and that's what leads to resentment, because you're giving your all, and you don't control how people respond. And if they aren't jumping up and down and saying, "Yay, hey, Ayani saved the day," then you're like, "Well, darn. I just gave you 110% of what I had left, and you don't even care." So that resentment builds up. And it comes out in unhealthy ways. It comes out, in my case, it comes out in health issues. It comes out in, depression. It comes out in, not wanting to be around people because you're waiting for them to ask you to do something, and, of course, you don't know how to say no. So, you're waiting to be asked to do something that, of course, you're going to say yes, but deep down inside you're saying, got me again.
And this is interesting because you were saying baby boomers. It's not just baby boomers. So first of all, let me say that she's not saying it's not okay, that you have to ignore other people, or you don't have to have empathy or care for other people. What she's saying is, what you're saying is, I have to take care of me first. I have to make sure I'm healthy. I am whole, healthy, and complete before I can even take care of you.
And it's not a matter of being selfish. It's a matter of being self-caring, that you realize that you got to give the best that you have, but you can't give it if you aren't the best that you can be.
And I've really talked about that on the show, changing the definition of selfish, because people think, oh, you're being selfish. No, when I say I think you would rather me say no to something than say yes and do a half-ass job with it, or not even care, not even and then resent you because I did it, because I couldn't say no. So I'm not even happy doing it. So I'm not even going to give you my best. It's going to be whatever. Or I might back out at the last minute. Right when you need me, because I just can't do it. I just don't want to do this. So you rather me honor myself and say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. And people always in my life, and you know this, Mom, would say I was mean, I was not nice, because I got there early. No, I'm not doing it. Now, you might not like it, but I'm not doing it because I just don't want to do it. And I don't have to give you an explanation why I don't do it.
Right.
So I wanted to talk about that because like I said, you were saying baby boomers. I see this now. I see it's not just baby boomers. It's not me because I'm Generation X. It's now in the millennials. This whole process has still going on, and I see all these angry kids
absolutely.
who are just tired of
as an
parenting.
assistant principal. That was a basic. There were two things. There was the anger, and then there was the depression. There were so many of my students who were depressed. There were so many who were angry and didn't know why. There were so many that were trying to be all things to all people and not having a chance to be who they were, kids.
And not only that, because they had like poor role models, they would find themselves in situations for anybody who said, I love and care for you, who did not love and care for them. And so they would find themselves being used and being resented for that. You know, I love you, I love him, I love her so much. Why is she treating me like this? Because you don't have a good example of what love is, and you're giving all. And then, I'm going to have to admit, what you guys consider all, or what people in this situation consider all, or your 110%, I don't even want, because it's not even good. It's not even, it's you guys are struggling so hard to be the best, to help everybody else, that it just becomes this whole thing of like, oh my God, I don't even want to ask. You know, I don't even. I see what this does to you. This saddens me. And then again, coming from my mom, it pissed me off. That's why I found myself in so many situations taking up for you as a child, insinuating myself in the adult situations when I was a child because I saw that you couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of kids are doing that. A lot of kids are taking on that parenting role as a child because their parents are just burnt out. They don't know how to manage their lives.
Right.
And so these kids aren't being parented, and then that leads to anger and depression.
All you have to do is go onto my Facebook page because I'm Facebook friends with a lot of my former students, and all you have to do is go on my Facebook page and read some of the statuses, and you can see, what's going. You can feel the anger, you can feel the pain, relationships and money issues. And I have one former student who's just so angry. She's always getting into fights. Now, come on now, you're too old to be out there in the street fighting, but she doesn't know how to get her anger out. When I suggested that she take boxing lessons, to get some.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's hard to say no when you feel that people are depending on you to be the one to take care of the problem.
And then I have to put it again back on the people who do this. Again, you said no one asked you. Most times.
Yeah.
Most times no one's asked you. And it's like you get your identity from this.
Validation.
Yeah. And that's the external. You'll never be happy if how you identify yourself comes from outside of yourself and not something you've identified for yourself.
Absolutely.
Man, this is a huge conversation.
So my wish for, young people is to take time to learn who you are. Take time for yourself. I see you involved in so many activities. That's busy work. That keeps you from facing who you are and what you really need. Try to figure out what it is that you need to be happy, content, whatever you want to call it, and then work toward that. And don't put your validation, your value in somebody else's hands, because that's power. And, person who has that kind of power over you can destroy you. They can build you up or they can destroy you. You need to take that power.
And it's also unpredictable because that same person who built you up yesterday, if they're having a pissy mood today, they're going to tear you down. So it's so unpredictable when you and they might not even intend to do it. You think about parents who love their kids, but they've had a bad day at work, and they just come home and snap over everything. And the kids take that very personal, like, why don't she love me? And it's not, or he love me. It's not even that. But you find out, you get your value of how important you are to the world for people who are just human. They're dealing with their own emotions.
And just as a personal example, Kim, with my mom, it was like, what can I anticipate that will make her happy? Because her life, in many accounts was just miserable. So I tried to anticipate things that would make her happy. And
man, that sounds like a lot of stress. Because now not only are you not only are you insinuating yourself into situations that she may not have asked, but now you're trying to guess what can come up next. So now you're never living in the present. You're always living in the past or in the future. And wow, that's huge.
Yeah. So
in these last moments, because I know you said figure out what who you are, and I have this thing that I do that I say spend time figuring out who you are, what you value, and what your boundaries are. If you can figure those things out, that is huge.
Yeah, it is.
And then it doesn't matter what's going on around you. The storms could be coming, the waters could be calm, or the waters could be storming. But if you figured out who you are, what you value, and where your boundaries are, your boat's going to stay afloat.
Right. And I think the boundaries piece is real important, because if you don't have role models that show you what appropriate boundaries are, then you have none. Or if you have some, they're so flimsy that they're easily encroached upon. And I think that's real important too. And, this new year, think about how everything around you impacts you, your health, your spirituality, and start thinking about you. Start thinking about how you can be healthy, not only going to the gym, not only going to get your nails and your hair done and, getting the latest whatever, but think of how you can be the best person that you are. And it takes baby steps. Don't think that the year 2013 is going to be the year miraculously that you end up, super rich like Oprah. Think of it as taking baby steps. What one thing can I work on? And that's going to take some reflection. It's going to take some real hard looking at yourself, and it's going to take some honesty.
Yeah, and it's a journey, not a destination.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm still journeying.
So, hi, Kim.
Hi, Marc.
Pleasure to be with you.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, so you had asked me, how I might introduce myself to this audience, and much of my career has been built around social impact. I'm an attorney and a financial advisor, and I teach law school at Northwestern University School of Law. But the area that is most interesting to me is the way in which, one, capital can be put to work for both financial and social returns, and two, how we can together drive positive social change, how we can address the most vexing of social problems, and in specific, how I might use my skills and experience as a lawyer and a financial advisor to accomplish those things. And that's very much what I do, and I sometimes describe myself as being in the empowerment business.
Well, on that note, I will add something. I hadn't said this before, but Marc is my mentor. He's somebody who I rely on and look to for support and helping me realize my dreams. So he is correct in saying he's in the business of giving people the tools to empower themselves, and I love you for that. So we'll just get right into it. And the question for you is, what one piece of advice would you give to young people that you wish someone had given to you?
Well, there are so many things you learn along the way, and I always believe that your experiences are for a reason, and beyond that, I believe they're for a purpose. So I don't think that any missteps I may have made along life's journey were for naught. I think I learned from them, and they've all informed who I am as a human being and how I'm able to deliver on the promise that I create for myself. But if I had to kind of think back and reflect on what advice might have been helpful for me, I think in short it is trust your guts. I took a very traditional educational path that was to have led to a very traditional career path. And I resisted that path, and I'll give you a specific example of how that happened and what the consequence was. When I was a student at Northwestern University School of Law, where I now teach the course in social enterprise, then as now, there was a career day where prospective employers came in to talk to law students and size them up and see if they wanted to offer them employment. And I thought, well, that's a very good thing for me to be looking at and considering what my choices were. I was a decent student, and I thought I had, lots of choices, and I wanted to explore what those were. So I interviewed at 3 different prospective employers. I'll tell you what they were. One was the United States Department of Labor. Then, as now, I was very concerned about human rights and the labor movement and ensuring that people get a fair shake, and I thought that would be a useful place for me to dedicate my time. And second was a very large Chicago law firm, which in its day was very prominent, carried with it a big paycheck, the possibility of becoming a partner one day with a lot of prestige. And the third was an entrepreneur. It happened to be an individual who was then creating a series of suburbs around Chicago, and he wanted to find a young, newly minted lawyer who he would entrust to go around the country and find sites to develop communities. And that was awfully exciting to me also. And the idea was he was going to give me a plane and a paycheck and a blank check to go out and cut deals and shape communities. And all of that was exceptionally exciting to me. Well, one by one, I applied for each of those positions. And one by one, I was offered each of those positions. And then I went on to decline all of them. And at the moment, I found reasons to talk myself out of those jobs. And I thought really what was going on in my head, though, and I didn't know this at the time, was I didn't want to work for somebody else. I didn't want to take the traditional route, even though in some cases it looked as though it was pretty exciting. I wanted to be my own boss and develop and pursue my own dream and my own vision. And, your gut tells you a lot. So I didn't know then, whether it was the right side of my brain or the left side of my brain telling me what to do and what not to do. But the lesson I've learned from that, and I've seen other circumstances like this within clients and friends and colleagues, it's not that which you do in life which causes you trouble or you regret so much as it's that which you fail to do. Don't miss the opportunities before you. Spot those opportunities. Make it your business to understand when a door opens that you have the ability and the power to walk into that doorway and see what's on the other side, because you have lots of years ahead of you, lots of chances, lots of choices. Don't be discouraged. Don't be frustrated. Have the courage and the confidence to recognize that you can be anything you want to be, and it's not somebody else's road that you should be walking. It needs to be your own. And I think that's a lesson that, had I learned it early on, would have stuck with me and would have informed other decisions. But as it turns out, I felt intuitively that I was doing the right thing, and only years later, in retrospect, did I piece together why, in fact, it was the right thing for me, and I believe the right thing for others as well.
Wow, that's there are so many jewels and nuggets in that I kind of took the journey with the young people as I was listening, because as I said before, guys, that Marc is one of the people who really knows me. Knows the things that I've struggled to get to this place where I can provide this service for you guys. With his, hey, you got it, you there, you have the skills. Just trust yourself and letting it manifest through you. That was a big thing for me, because I didn't get that lesson early. I wasn't taught to trust my gut. I wasn't taught to value my own intuition. I was a young black girl living in the South who was loud and a tomboy, and everything in me people said was wrong. And so I took that personally. I took that on, and it was very hard for me to transition to find my own power, and not only to find my own power, to appreciate it, to come to live in it, and then build on the desire to make sure other people have that same experience.
Kim, you know, the reality is that we are our own champions, and if people say no, we need to show that the answer really is yes, and we're not doing it for them. We're not doing it to prove anything to them, but rather to ourselves. We have an obligation to ourselves and to our values and to our future and those that are surround us to optimize the opportunities that we have and the blessings that we have. And failing to do that is probably the greatest of tragedies. So when people say no to you, don't resist that no because you owe them something or you owe them an explanation or you have to prove it to them, but know that that is a signal, hey, you're being called for something higher.
And so that's all those times, young people, when you didn't get that grade you thought you were going to get, but you knew you can do better, or you were put in a class that it just didn't interest you. But you know, in high school you're required to take it. So you muddle through and you get that C, get out, and find that other thing that you're passionate about. And then when you go to college, you have more opportunities to framework that for you, to create that framework for yourself. And that's all I talk about here. It's about choices. You have choices. You might not like them, but you still have choices. And depending on how well you feel about your ability to make choices and follow your instinct and your gut, those choices will at some point build a path or create a path for you that will blow your mind. Because trust me, I'm living it right now, and I'm well beyond your age. I so wish I would have learned some of these things earlier. And you have the opportunity to just come out the gate just being great. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall on your face sometimes, but that's okay too.
That's exactly right. And don't be limited by your universe of choices. Think outside the box. Look at your core competencies, your talents, your interests, your passions. Each of them will point you in the right direction for you, the one that's going to give you the personal satisfaction, the success, the achievements, and the impact it's within you to make.
Exactly. Because it's there. You can silence it, you can try to, but it's still that voice is going to be in your head, because we see it every day. I just left the school system, and there are so many people there who could be doing so much better somewhere else to help young people. And that's just my honest assessment. There are a lot of people in education who just don't like education. But that's the job they have. They have families to take care of, and they don't believe that they can do something else. Or they're too afraid to do something else because they have all these other things that they think are counting on them. Literally it's killing them. And you see it in industry after industry after industry. And the thing about it is interesting, Marc, because you were saying how, these are very prestigious and lucrative positions, and following your own instinct, you've gotten there on your own.
Well, I think everybody gets where they deserve to get, and it really is on their own. Others may guide them or give them a helping hand, but we have to do everything in life for ourselves, really. And any achievement, I credit to the individual who got there and not to someone else. So if someone has the talent to land in this spot or that spot, and it's unsatisfying, unfulfilling, they also have the talent to land at a spot equally prestigious, delivering the values that are important to them, which becomes fulfilling. So we have the opportunity to determine what our course is and what our purpose is. But we need to understand that the range of choices is much broader than somebody insisting that you have to go this way or that way, because each of us really has the right, the opportunity, and I would say the obligation, to really explore in a very careful way, who am I and what can I best deliver to my fellow person and to myself and to my family, to society at large, that's going to give me the greatest return on psychic investments, that's going to make me a whole person, make me look back one day and say, hey, I took the right course, and I'm glad I did.
And that goes to something I talk about on the show a lot, is that personal responsibility. At some point, you're going to have to take responsibility, and that it's no longer your parents' responsibility. It's not the state. It's not your church. It is your responsibility because you have to live with the consequences of that. And you also made a good point. You know, people put out, like, you do this, you do this, and you'll get that, as if life is a math problem. 2 + 2 = 4. No, in the real world, 2 + 2 can equal Q. You know, and it's like, Q? Because life is just what we make of it. There's so many
don't look at life. Don't look at life as a series of transactions. That will sell you short. Look at life with its broader arc. What is your life story? What can it be? What do you want it to be? And go make it happen.
Well, on that note, I'm going to say thank you. That's great. That is so what this show is about. It's about making those choices for yourself and going out there and knocking the ball out the park.
Well, Kim, that's exactly what you're doing, and thank you for your extraordinary leadership, my friends. Your audience is very fortunate to have the benefit of your wise counsel and your experience and your guidance, and I'm thrilled to have been a small part of what you're doing here.
Thank you. All right, guys. I know that took a while, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you did. Again, Happy New Year. And two things that I got from that, and I hope that you take with you from this, from the 6 people. First of all, I want to thank each one of them, Anika, Carlton, Mandy, Nathaniel, Ayani, and Marc, for sharing this information with you. But the 2 things that stood out for me from what they said was trust your gut and discover and follow your dreams. Those are big, 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 big things. It's not about blaming somebody else for the situations that you find yourself in. Stuff happens. Life is what it is. It's what are you going to do when you find yourself in a corner? What are you going to trust your gut? Or are you going to do the same thing you've always done that's never gotten you the results that you want? So, again, I'm going to leave you with trust your gut and discover and follow your dreams. And with that, I'll say good night and, again, Happy New Year, and we'll talk again next week. Take care.
Thank you for listening, and please join us each and every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern for more Real Talk for Real Teens.